Hey everybody, welcome back to Garuda part number 9. Today I'll be working on some general detailing throughout the ride, since we're almost getting toward the end of this ride, but the most important stuff that I'll be doing is working on the transfer track, which is what I'm starting work on here. But later on I'll also be heading back to the coaster that Rudi made in the last episode and adding some detail to it and experimenting a little bit with the tunnels that it has. But first, of course, as always, I have the awesome Rudi in here in the studio. So, let's give him a warm welcome. Rudi, how are you doing?
Hey man, I'm doing really good today. I hope you too.
I mean, it's update time, right? So
It is,
we've
yeah.
got some awesome stuff coming. I mean, I haven't really played it myself yet, and to be quite honest, I haven't been able to record this video in 1.2 either, so we don't have anything new coming up, but we might in the next episode, so I'm really looking forward to that already.
Yeah, me too. And I have to promise, and I will promise right now, that the next episode will be the last one. So we talked about it at the beginning, and just to mention that last time I went a little bit crazy, but
Yeah.
I think it's about to wrap up the thing, and I'm really I have to say it's kind of cool that actually this time it's the first time I haven't thought anything. I haven't seen anything before we doing this commentary, so I'm super excited because I'm watching literally the time lapse as you are as well, guys. So I'm really curious to see what you did, even though you said it's just a little bit of theming and stuff, but always when you're going to say something like that, I always love your commentary and your episodes like that. So I'm really curious to see what you did.
Yeah, it's really just some small stuff though. Like, don't expect too much. I know that's probably the worst thing to say at the beginning of your video. There's not too many interesting things in here, but it's just some general detailing. We're getting toward the end of the ride, literally and figuratively. I'm sorry about that pun, but I really needed to just get some general detailing in and fill in some of the areas that were still kind of left lying about. And one of those was the transfer track, because this has been open and empty for a super long time. So I just want to get some very quick detailing into the transfer track, and then we also have the storage track over here, which I wanted to get a quick roof over. And for a while I actually wasn't too sure what exactly I should do with this roof. I actually copied your roof over and put it over here, which, even though it looks really cool, it kind of blocked the view of the rest of the station. So in the end I actually went with a slightly different style. Not entirely sure about it, but it's a lot smaller, so it doesn't obscure the rest of the station, and it keeps the focus on the rest of the station, while also being able to give a roof to the transfer track as well.
Yeah, as far as I see it, it's looking pretty awesome, and I must say it. We started the whole series around this station. So there was nothing else in this park apart from the station, and we thought of just doing a coaster around, and now we are going to do a switch track and storage track, and wow, wow, where have we come to? And it looks super awesome, and I would say I agree with the decision to go with a little bit more flat roof, because as you said, it would block the view a little bit, and so I'm pretty happy how it turns out as far. And now I see you're just going in with some more lanterns, which is also great.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we both just forgot about it, but I kind of noticed that the entire park doesn't have any lighting. So you've made that one short garden lantern, and I've made the large lamppost. So I figured those would be two main lamps that can be placed throughout the park, just to give this entire thing some lighting. I'm not sure if you forgot at this point as well. I've never really talked about it, but it's something that was glaringly missing from the park.
Yeah, I would say I just forgot about it. So I started with doing a few of them when I first started the garden, but then you took over with the garden and I did some other stuff. So I just forgot. I have to say I never had it in nighttime, so maybe that's also the reason that
that's a very good point. You could also get into lighting in the next episode, because to be very honest, I'm not even sure what you're gonna have to work on in the next episode.
Yeah, I think basically I do have the 1.2 at my hands, so I guess there will be something I can work with. But yeah, I think I'm just going to do some general finishing touches to it. If there is still something left open from you, I will see at the end of the episode. But yeah.
Yeah, there's
We'll
not
see.
too much left open. I really wanted to get to some of the things that were still left unfinished. Although, and this is something that you told me to do, so I was completely fine with doing it. I wasn't doing it because you told me to do it, like I was gonna do it anyway, but I sort of very curiously asked and you were like, yes, do it please. Changing the coaster, actually smoothing it out a bit and adding some details to it was the one thing that I wanted to do here. So that just meant grabbing all of the different coaster pieces and smoothing out the pieces until they're a little less jerky, but also adding a bit more detailing to some of these rocks. Like, a lot of the rocks so far were just kind of the black rocks, but I kind of like mixing the different rocks together and putting some foliage in there as well for the variety in there. So I also kind of tried doing that in there, here and there as well.
Oh yeah, and basically there we go with the thing I could do, right? Because we do have no collision now, so
True.
I might just go there and make it a little more dense maybe, and go in with a little bit more of support at the beginning of the track. If I look so, it could use some more supports, just leaving from the station over there, maybe another one.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, the support right now is basically just floating, and there's no way to actually make it touch the track, but now we can actually do that. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, I guess we will find. But as we said, it will be the last one. So I think I don't need to go in with something crazy. So I did way often now, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's really easy to just go ahead and like keep adding new things and like just increase your to-do list every time. But
Yeah.
there's kind of a point where you have to figure out, okay, I just need to bring everything together and finish all this stuff up.
Yes, but in all honesty, I do have some ideas for it, because I had some ideas even before we talked. So it might go into the direction of adding some realism touches to it, to the whole park. And so I do have some ideas. Maybe some small props we can also use later on as blueprints in general for the workshop. So yeah, that was something I was looking into, which I can also use in other parks. So let's see if that works out.
All right, I'm curious to see it. At this point, I just kind of went back to the rockwork and started adding some more rocks around the side over here as well.
Oh yeah,
And
that's pretty good. Yeah.
yeah, I do kind of like how these rocks are blending together. I sometimes feel like the differences between these rocks are a little bit too jarring, but also for that reason, kind of, I try to have most of the lighter rocks down at the bottom, especially around the paths, and then just kind of decrease their density as you go higher up on the rocks, so that the top of the rocks are just completely the in-game kind of rocky cliff texture in the terraforming.
Yeah,
so you kind of have that smooth transition into the terraforming as well.
Yeah, and I'm super happy that you're tackling the upper part of the path, because I really left it open. I just put in some rocks just to have some there, but really happy that you're actually going to do this. And hey man, you are going to do the backside of the mountain as well, so nobody will ever see it. But yeah, just let's go there and do some stuff.
Yeah, that was actually really stupid. At some point I went adding rocks to the backside of the part where you literally don't see it anyway. But yeah, I do kind of regret that, but I ended up doing that. You'll actually see that later on during this episode. Don't ask me why I did that. I'm not too sure in hindsight. It just kind of bugged me and I was like, I'm gonna change it even if it doesn't matter. So that was kind of stupid. But as a sort of like break, I went into this opening for the coaster because there was this opening here with the coaster. Now I kind of closed the other one because I felt like it was a little bit too close to the walls of the temple.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So I like kept this one gap open, and I think it does interact really interestingly with the gardens as well, which is also kind of why I put all of these rocks and foliage in there. To sort of turn it into a sort of open spot in the middle of the jungle, if that makes any sense. But,
yeah, I think it does. And just to come back to the point that you're filling in spaces which people can't see, I would say, and I'm repeating there, or repetitive there, but it's basically something which people do like about your work, I guess. And I think it's also the little things in Planet Coaster which do count. So for example, I saw a video today of somebody moving around through Space Mountain, and then he figured that I put down a security door, and you literally never see this security door. It's inside the dome and you can't even see it because it's behind some scenery, and he was also raging about this, how great it is to put something like that in. And I think that's exactly what it makes so special. So you don't break with the illusion, because you could simply go in and put a mountain over there and then just do nothing on the backside, and suddenly when people go in the park and move around, they will see. And it's just like, kind of a little bit of an illusion breaker.
Yeah.
And that's basically why it's always good to go as far as you want to go, and we know how far you want to go. So
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, for me, realism isn't even necessarily about doing it in a realistic way. I know Euthris, in a recent video on his Loch Ness recreation, the coaster in Busch Gardens, that you might, very well known. It's a really awesome coaster. It's a great series as well. Here's to a random shout out. But he was talking about like more believability, that he wasn't completely going for all realism, but more for like believability of being able to make it look convincingly like it's actually in a theme park. And I sort of see that concept in a similar way, in the sense that my parks are almost exclusively very unrealistic. They're just sort of meant in a way that in-game, like whether you're from the coaster or whether you're just scrolling around the park, it looks like a realistic theme park. Like the way that I'm putting together tree lines is most definitely not realistic. But like everything that you see, I kind of want to put together in a sense that it looks like it is real, even if making it look like that means that you're gonna have to make it unrealistic. If that makes any sense. It probably sounds really weird and confusing at this point, but
I have to agree with both. It sounds weird, but it sounds, even though I understand what you're talking about, and I guess people will also as well, and I fully agree with that. So yeah, I have to say that the first time I thought this was in your Grizzly Valley video. I don't know which episode it was. Wasn't it one of the first ones? It was kind of in the middle of the series. I was like, okay, now that's super unnecessary to do in terms of the game, but the way you did it, it just adds so much more, and that's the word, believability. That's exactly the word we are looking for, I guess. It's a game. It's like we are lacking so many stuff that would make us or bring us into the position to make things realistic. So starting from the actual speed of a coaster, which isn't realistic, but it's believable, and I guess the believability, what a word, is kind of the most important thing. And yes, totally agree.
It might have actually been like one of the backstreet areas of the main street in Grizzly Valley, because I remember Grizzly Valley especially like being one of the first series in Planet Coaster which were like obsessed over how things looked backstage wise, that I wanted to like make all of the like backstage buildings. Like the main street consisted most of all of big grey boxes, as you would see in actual Disney parks. So that was probably like part of it. But yeah, that's an important thing of it as well. Like even those backstage boxes weren't technically realistic because they were not nearly as like safely put together as you would see it in real life, and I just kind of randomly scattered HVACs around in a sense that wouldn't architecturally make sense. But looking at it, it looked like it would be a real life theme park, and that was the idea.
Yeah, that's it. So I knew exactly when I was watching it, and you put down the those ventilators, how they're called, these little steam things on top of it, and nobody would ever see them, but it was like, yeah, it makes sense. They need to have some kind of exhaust, and was totally great to see. And yeah, I think I keep on seeing people doing so many. I mean, we could again talk about like Planet Bro Coaster. I think they are going to push this to a limit.
I mean, why not? We're already behind the time lapse anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, but I see you're just tackling now the next open area, and that's the area, to be honest, which I have been most curious about, because I had no idea what I could do, because it's so close to the border of the park. And yeah, let's see what you do here.
Oh, I turn it into a jungle, man. It's so bad. But yeah, you wanted to talk about playing Bro Coaster, right?
Yeah, right. Because I think talking of believability and realism aspects, you just can't avoid them, because like, yeah, we already talked about that. I don't even know if it was Koali or if it was Garuda. I have no idea. But how they just go in, and they even put down kind of a little food wagon, and they put like cables to it so that it get electricity, and then they did some cover about over the electricity, so people on the pathway would actually walk over it, but over the cover. So like, hell, what? But looking at it, it's like, okay, So you don't need to spend so much time in it, but if you do, that's the way you do it. It's like,
Yeah, that was so amazing.
or like simply just like the steam effect as dried ice. Like, what? Okay, fine, it's dried ice. Okay, like,
But it
makes
works.
sense.
It's not
It
really
works, yeah.
really realistic, but it looks like something that's actually straight out of a theme park. Just like how the cables were actually put together from like random sci-fi pieces that are barely even what they're supposed to be. But you know, it works.
Yes, it totally works. And you know, there's one thing I'm really happy about, by the way. I never told this, but I was so super jealous to you, basically, when you were in Alpha 2, when there was the bug in the first 2 days or so, where you could actually rotate grid pieces by this little trick. And I was late because I was on holidays. And so when I installed the game, or like the update, I couldn't do it. And you were like doing your steampunk punk thing over there with all these pipes, and I couldn't use them as pipes. And I was so upset because like everybody could use this, and because as soon as you figured out that it is possible, everybody did just a few buildings and put them on the back of the park, and you could use them. So I'm so happy that this is gone, and we can all now rotate in every direction we want to. Just a stupid random side note, because I was so upset.
I'm not sure if this is going to make you more upset, but you could have actually done the same by downloading Bone Shaker, removing the entire Bone Shaker, except for the like rotated pipes, and you would have had the rotated pipes. Actually, if I were a good person, I could have saved them in a separate save file. I just realized the screen of the time lapse is black. I'm not sure why that happened. It's gonna go back to normal again. That was a rendering mistake. Oops. But anyway.
Oh well.
Yeah, this point of the time lapse like isn't really even that interesting to begin with. Like, this is where I started filling in the area which you don't even see in the first place. But I was forced to listen to classical music, so I just kept going. Not quite sure why, but that was actually pretty funny. But something that I kind of wanted to return to, which is a little bit older from the time lapse right now, but that was kind of an idea that I wanted to talk to you about, because this is the first time that you're actually seeing it. But I had no idea what to turn the coaster into, because we have all of these tunnels, and it's kind of difficult to come up with something to make these tunnels a little bit nicer to go through, and a little bit more of a theme. So what I did eventually was kind of make them like mine shafts, in a sense that they're sort of like dug out cave systems supported by wooden supporting poles. And I am not sure how you feel about that idea.
Well, I do like it. And it's maybe not a fact that I just don't know if this makes any sense to Southeast Asia. I have no idea. It's not just that I'm doubting it, I just don't know.
Yeah, same actually. I have no idea.
Basically, I like it, and I think we can keep it, because it's, you know, it looks really cool with all the lights and a little bit yellowish, and maybe we could just, you know, those lanterns I have in my in those little food stands with those Christmas pieces. Maybe we could put them into those as well, so to give it a little bit of Asian touch to it, and that should make it. I think it's good. I think
actually really interesting. Yeah.
I do like it. It's pretty nice, because when you were literally putting in those wooden supports, and it felt really cool. Like it's floating through the terrain there and supported by it. Really cool. I can imagine that this works pretty nice.
Oh, I just had another idea, by the way. Just when I tried to get into the tunnels, there were like tree roots going through the coaster, because like some of the trees that are placed above the ground were still going through the tunnels, which wasn't all that handy. But I just kind of now realized that you could actually kind of use those things and like actually have roots coming out of the ceiling, like it's an actual cave, and you've got like still tree roots going through it, because it's really low under the ground. Like, that could be an interesting part of detail. But you should look at that anyway. For now, this has been it for this episode. I am all out of stuff to show to you guys, except for some cinematic shots that I'll record. So I really want to thank you guys for watching, and I want to thank you, Rudi, for being here again.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and I think the last time for Garuda, right? On your channel.
Yeah, it's gonna be the last time for Garuda on my channel. We'll be back next week on Rudi's channel, which means that I'm gonna be super happy OCD wise, because it's 10 episodes and we each have 5 episodes, and it's so nice and clean. And
It
you know,
is.
I started the series. You're gonna round it all up. So yeah, we're gonna see you to. I was about to say tomorrow, but there's no way. We're gonna see you next week on Rudi's channel, and that's gonna be the last time for Garuda. So see you guys, and hopefully in another series.